All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
We're recording now. So there we go. This episode will start in for those listening on delay. I talked about some things. Anyway.
Great summary there. And now for last week's race reviews.
Of Las Vegas. You didn't you missed me singing. I will not sing again.
The Las Vegas NASCAR Cup Series race happened.
Yeah. And what was weirder under the Reddick yellow is Blaney spun just on his own entering pit road. Something broke on his car, but just a weird time to spin. Anyway, Bell to lead after on the next green flag. Truex, or not Truex. This is not 2007. Martin Truex Jr. is not driving the one car anymore, Andrew. Chastain and Gibbs were speeding on pit road.
This is why you should put their names instead of their car numbers.
Well, normally I do know them, but I'm sometimes brain fart. Larson, he comes in a second time after a slow pit stop. That's on the second time, because they only changed 3 tires on the first stop. And they had a slow pit stop anyway. It's not very good for Kyle Larson. Gilliland had a tire issue of some sort. I think that brought out a caution. I don't remember. I wrote it down. Bell won stage 2, followed by Truex, non-playoff driver, as I mentioned earlier, then Byron, then the non-playoff driver Buescher, followed by Logano, followed by the long run of non-playoff drivers, Bowman, Haley, Suarez, Bubba Wallace, and Ryan Preece. And I want to talk about Justin Haley real quick. Justin Haley drove a Spire car on pace, Ethan, into the top 10 and looked to be a solid car. Quite frankly, outside of pretty much the super speedways, we never saw that from Corey LaJoie. This move that Spire made to acquire Justin Haley.
Yeah. I mean, we already called it a win when it happened.
It's already a win, and it's not even 5 races old. So actually might be 5 races old now, but but it is still very young into this relationship, and it's already a win, I think. Rick Ware Racing, they had a good run at Talladega with LaJoie, but that was really about it. Anyway, moving forward, then we had a caution. When we went green stage 3, we had a caution after 54. Ty Gibbs, he spun. This put Kyle Larson back on the lead lap, crucial for his day because he had a no bueno day. Some cars stay out and try to make a fuel run late, led by Suarez and Logano. After we went green, some guys decided to pit because it put us at an interesting fuel point. Logano, with about 5 laps to go, he went to the lead. He wound up winning. Bell was a lap or 2 short from passing Logano. He was coming hard, making up a lot of ground on Logano. It was just too little, too late. So that's just what it was. With I would say about a 6 out of 10 race. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it was a great race because it had a good end." It wasn't really not anything special. It was Bell over everyone else, and if that caution didn't come out for Ty Gibbs, it was going to be a Bell cakewalk. This race, it was memorable, but memorable for the wrong reasons. But it was still solid nonetheless. I want to talk about the playoff picture real quick. With his win, Logano, he advances. And then Bell, he's sitting fairly good at plus 42. Then Larson plus 35. Byron plus 27. So I'm looking into, where are we next week? Homestead. And I don't think, unless one of the 4 guys I'm about to mention wins, these guys are pretty safe, even though that can be flipped with stage points if they go right into some of these guys and wrong for some of these guys. This could be flipped, but they are relatively safe, barring disasters. And disasters can happen because we saw disasters happen to almost everyone at Vegas. Really everyone except for Byron, Bell, and Logano. Like Larson, he had his issues. Anyway, I'm going to go into these guys under the cut line. Hamlin, minus 27. Reddick, minus 30. Blaney, minus 47. Elliott, minus 53. Looking into Homestead, I think Reddick will be the best of those 5. I would tend to believe because he's ran well there in the past. Hamlin's won there a few times as well. I would expect those guys to gain the most, Ethan. I don't know about you. So do you want to talk about COTA for Formula 1?
U.S. Grand Prix. So it was a sprint weekend, and the sprint race was actually very good. Not going to talk about the sprint race for a super long time, but it did happen. It was interesting, so I'll go over it quickly. On lap 1, Lando Norris went from 4th to 2nd, and we saw a lot of great battling throughout the sprint. The 2 Ferraris fought back and forth for a long time, made some aggressive moves that would have been sure to make team principal Fred Vasseur sweat, but he didn't call for any team orders. He let them race.
Good man.
Lawson and Alonso also had a very long battle. Alonso called Liam Lawson an idiot, which was kind of funny, especially because, if anything, like, all due respect to the 2-time champ, but Lawson was making Alonso look like an idiot, if anything. Esteban Ocon got involved in that action a little bit. One of Lawson's moves on Alonso brought Ocon through as well, and then Ocon got past Lawson. Sainz was able to pass George Russell for 3rd, and then Leclerc got past Russell as well. So even though Sainz was pulling ahead of Leclerc was on his tail throughout the race. When Sainz made a move, Leclerc made the move as well, or came close to making the move, as you'll see later. Tsunoda and Perez had some battles as well. When Perez was able to stay ahead of Tsunoda, it looked like Tsunoda might have been able to actually come back, but Oscar Piastri, who was working his way up through the grid as he got knocked out in SQ1, he got in between them and put an end to that battle. On the last lap, under pressure from the 2 Ferraris, Lando Norris locked up into turn 1, which allowed Carlos Sainz through. Leclerc almost got through, but Lando was able to avoid that. So the podium and the top 8 of the sprint race was Verstappen, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, Magnussen, and Hülkenberg. The 2 Haas's getting sprint points. They had a very strong home weekend, that team did. Don't think, as we talked about, the Toyota partnership hasn't exactly gone into effect just yet, but I mean, good performances the first race after announcing that. Those Haas's, they looked really good. They're kind of top that midfielder, at least at some times they will be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, on to the main attraction, the main race. Lap 1, going into the first corner. Always some chaos that happens at the Circuit of the Americas. Lando, he did get a good start, but still bottled it in the first corner. Essentially what happened is he could have defended Max Verstappen much more aggressively on the inside of turn 1, but he left the door open, which allowed Max to kind of push him wide. It might have been on purpose, might not have been on purpose. It ended up not exactly helping Max. Still helped him because he was ahead of Lando, but Max didn't take the lead, so I don't know if it was on purpose or not. Is it dirty? Maybe. Is it illegal? For better or worse, no. So Lando has to know that Max is the type of driver to get in there and push him wide. So they both went off track a little bit. As a result, Charles Leclerc was able to jump both of them, and then coming out of turn 1, it was Leclerc, Max, Sainz, and Norris. So from 1st to 4th in a single corner, terrible start for Lando Norris, just insanely terrible. Later on in the lap, they're racing on the straight. Sainz, he's trying to aggressively pass on Max at the end of that straight, going into that into that left corner at the end. And it looked to me like Sainz might have been ahead at the apex of the corner, but I guess he wasn't, because even though Max went off track to stay ahead, like slash repass signs, like because they were pretty neck and neck, he was able to keep the place. I don't know if it. I mean, I guess it was because they deemed that Max was ahead at the apex of the corner. Signs went off at that part of the track as well. The rules around this, like, they're clear enough. Like, if you're ahead at the apex, it's your corner. But I don't think we've talked a lot about the clarity of rules from the FIA. I think even though that this isn't the most clear, like, we do know that if you're ahead at the apex, it is considered your corner. But I think that at a corner, I don't know. Is judging whose corner it is by who's ahead at the apex the best way to judge it? I don't know. That's really the conversation that has opened up from not only this move, but 2 other moves at that corner that we'll talk about later on. But anyway, also during lap 1, Esteban Ocon spun around at turn 1 after contact with Alex Albon, and then Lewis Hamilton, who was starting near the back of the grid, he got up near the top 10 by the end of lap 1, but his good race didn't last, as on lap 3 at the penultimate corner, turn 19, he spun off the track, got beached in the gravel, ended his race. Brought out the first safety car since Canada, Andrew.
Oh, Canada.
You promised no singing. I'll allow that, though, because it was funny. But, I mean, they went through the entire European leg without a safety car. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, through the end of the early stage and into what ended up being the first pit stage, we saw some good battling. Lawson and Alonso were back at it again. Guan Yu Zhou was having himself a nice race until he spun, running 13th on lap 10. Lawson and Alonso's crazy battle continued through all that. On lap 13, another big incident, not a wreck, but another big incident at that turn at the end of the straight, the back straight. George Russell, he got a penalty for forcing Valtteri Bottas off the track, but it was a super weak penalty in my opinion. Same, like I said, same spot that the Carlos Max incident was at. But they were near neck and neck at the apex. Bottas was maybe marginally ahead, but Russell had control. And again, Bottas being marginally ahead at the apex due to the way that F1 determines things, that does matter here. But George Russell had control of the inside line, the racing line. George Russell was on the racing line. That to me matters more, honestly, because Russell followed the racing line, and because he followed the racing line, I'm doing quotes here, he pushed Bottas off, but he was just on the racing line. It was a super clean pass, and like if it was a street circuit and there was a wall there, Bottas would have backed off because he wouldn't have wanted to go into the wall. Like there wouldn't be a penalty for George doing anything like that. It's just does that make sense? Like if it was a street circuit, Valtteri would have had to back off. He didn't have to back off because there's runoff. He shouldn't have to back off. I'm not saying he should, but like he didn't have a right to that position. George, in my opinion, had that right. He took the position fair and square down the inside. Valtteri was ahead at the apex, though, so it was deemed his position. And since he was pushed off, George got a 5-second time penalty. George responded to the team telling him this by saying, "What?" And yeah, that was my reaction too. It's dumb. In my opinion, it's dumb. Maybe my opinion's wrong, but that's my opinion. On lap 22, Sainz comes into the pits. He's able to undercut Max, who pit on lap 26. Throughout the mid-20s and all that, Lawson and Colapinto, the 2 rookies essentially, making moves on much more experienced competition. They really impressed me this week. Through the middle section of the race, not too much happened. Good midfield battles, but not to the extent of earlier in the race. Really just cut into the end where the main talking point of the race was lap 52. Leading up to lap 52, Lando had been on Max's tail, but just couldn't get the job done. I'll talk more about that later, but Lando and Max, that turn we keep talking about, Andrew, entered the turn at the end of the straight. Max was on the inside. Lando was on the outside. Max reached the apex first and, again, quotes here, pushed Lando to the outside. Max was on the racing line. Like, can't be mad at him for that. But Lando got penalized here because when Lando went off, he kept on the gas and passed Max. And he got that penalty because Lando was Max was ahead at the apex. So, I mean, I don't know here, Andrew. Like, I agree that Lando should have got the penalty there, but I don't agree with the reasoning. To me, it makes much more sense that since if you're defending that corner, you would defend the inside. You wouldn't defend the outside. The inside is the racing line. It makes much more sense to me if like Carlos had the inside line for his and Max's battle there. That should have been Carlos's corner. He had the right to that corner, in my opinion. I don't know. So I think, and a lot of people are talking about multiple different points of it. This is just my opinion. Other people have different opinions, but no matter what people's opinions are, everyone in the F1 community right now has an opinion on this. I think that something needs to change, though. Like, I don't know. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on this?
Why, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, Oscar Piastri loosely said that after the race that they should go NASCAR style. I agree.
What did he mean by that, Andrew?
I think he meant what he meant by it was like settling disputes in the pits. But he could have meant is run as wide as you can.
That's not what he meant, though.
He didn't explicitly say the pits.
Okay, so this is Andrew's opinion, not Oscar Piastri's. Just clarifying that for everyone.
Yeah, that is true. But let him run. If you have racing surface, use the racing surface. That's what it is at the end of the day. Racing surface is racing surface. And if you say, oh, we want them to not race on that point of the circuit, okay, let's throw something called gravel.
I'm a big fan of gravel
in there. Make them go slower. Whatever you want to call gravel, the sandbox, the kitty litter, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to throw in there, throw something in there because if you don't want people to race on pavement, make the pavement slower.
Well, I definitely agree with the second part of that. And there, like, that's another opinion. There's just so many opinions on this. So, yes, I agree that Lando should have been penalized here. But I also think that Max should have been penalized for his move on Carlos. Would that have mattered in the end? I don't know. But a lot of people don't think that Lando should have been penalized at all. Just, I don't know. There's so many different opinions here. Go read Formula One Twitter, or actually don't. Preserve your sanity. But essentially what happened is Lando got a 5-second penalty for going off track and gaining an advantage. So he then tried to gain a 5-second advantage over Max. Couldn't quite do it. I think at the end of the race, it was like 4.1 or something. So Verstappen got that third place. It was Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Russell, Perez, Hülkenberg, Lawson, and Colapinto. Again, Lawson and Colapinto, super impressive this weekend. More impressive than their teammates, to be honest. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson's teammate, kind of got the short end of the stick here in terms of just strategies throughout the weekend. But Franco Colapinto, he really did just look better than Alex Albon, who a lot of people hold in high regard. So Franco Colapinto, who, I mean, we talked about him when he first got that seat. We were like, okay, maybe he can be something, but we didn't expect him to be something. We just expected him to be maybe a faster Logan Sargent who would still make rookie mistakes. He hasn't made rookie mistakes yet. He's been definitely faster, not only faster than Sargent, he's impressed me more than Albon has. maybe I'm reading too much stock into him being a rookie, but he's been super impressive. He also would have had fastest lap of the race. Esteban Ocon took it at the very end. Colapinto joked that Ocon shouldn't have changed his tires at the end of the race to then go out on fresh rubber and get the fastest lap. He said, "Why do they change tires, bro? We need to save the planet." Which, that's just gold. So Franco Colapinto, winning fans
Quote of the week.
Yeah, winning fans off the track, winning some points. Not winning, but getting some points on the track. And then I want to do a little mini rant here, Andrew. I'll keep it short because I've talked a lot, but a little mini rant here.
Oh, boy.
Lando Norris this week, I think this weekend was the perfect encapsulation as to just showing why he will not win the World Drivers' Championship. Maybe some distant year in the future, but it's sure not this one. I mean, here's the thing with Lando. I'm a McLaren fan. I've said it. You even earlier today accused me of not being able to admit that Lando is...
I didn't say that. I was surprised that you admitted...
I've been saying throughout the entire Formula One season that Lando has no shot, but I just thought that was mostly because Max was going to be quicker, be better, and although Max has been better, Lando has been quicker, and yet Max is still going to win the championship because Lando hasn't been as good. And what do I mean by that? Look, Lando's race pace, or just Lando's pace overall, both short stint pace and long stint pace, being able to manage those tires, he does a great job of that. He's super quick in both short stints qualifying and the longer race stints. Super quick. Like, there's no denying that. That part of his game is world championship material. There's just absolutely no denying that. He is insane in qualifying. He puts in insane long stints as well. Just absolutely no denying that. But essentially everything else, every other part of his game just isn't world championship material. His defending, terrible. His awareness, terrible. Just how do you not know to cover off turn one there from Max? I guess he thought Max was there maybe, but then he doesn't have the awareness that Max is there. It just isn't world championship material. Terrible is too strong, but it's just not world championship material. His attacking other drivers, he's solid, but like he realistically should have made that move on Max far before it actually happened. It happened on lap 52, could have at least happened the lap earlier. Like he just, and it's hard to pass in Formula One with these cars and all that, but just you need more than just pure pace to win a championship. And right now, Lando only has pure pace. Now, we all like to say like, oh, he's been in Formula One forever, because yeah, he's been in like Formula One for like 5 years or whatever at this point, but he's still super young. He's only 24 years old. Like he has time to gain experience and get better at all this, and he can reach a point where because in the past his attacking has been amazing, so maybe this is just low confidence right now, but his defending has always not been the best. But what I'm saying is he has potential, but just for this year he hasn't reached that potential, so he's not going to win the championship.
There you have it, folks. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I also don't have an opinion like that. So anyway,
you have to have an opinion on that.
Well, I don't know. I don't watch Formula One. For me, what it sounds like you're saying is that he isn't a complete race car driver. He just doesn't have the skills to contend with the best of the best.
He has some of the skills. I mean,
well, he doesn't have all of them, is what you're saying.
His pace and both his long form and short stint pace is, in my opinion, better than Oscar Piastri. And not only would you expect them to be, just because he does have the experience over him, not only in Formula One, but in that car as well. But Piastri's a guy that's being labeled as a future Formula One champion. And in that part of Lando's game, it's no question to me that he's better than Oscar, but just other parts of his game, he's not quite there. I like the guy. which, whoa, hot take. But, I mean, I as a McLaren fan, I want McLaren drivers to succeed. I think he has the potential to succeed, but it's just not, he's not there yet.
Breaking news, folks. Ethan likes his favorite driver. Anyway, getting into the news.
And now for the news.
Ethan, what do you have to say about Red Bull and companies?
Always have a lot to say about Red Bull and company.
Who doesn't?
If we had unlimited time, we could do it maybe an entire day just talking about Red Bull. I'm sure you and me could figure out enough just going through the entire history of Red Bull Racing, all their
and then
all
their
their stuff.
sister/junior/other team.
Yeah, but essentially what Andrew is trying to tell me is please talk about RB and the Red Bull family telling Liam Lawson that he still has to earn the 2025 seat, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think he's earned it.
I think he's earned it as well. He's been told, according to Racer Magazine, Chris Medland, that he needs to match Yuki Tsunoda in order to secure a full-time seat next year, and I think he's perfectly capable of that, at least coming close to matching Yuki. Like, you and me, I think we both hold Yuki maybe in slightly higher regard than the rest of the racing community does. But
higher than Red Bull. I'll tell you that for free.
That's for sure. But Liam, we also hold, at least I do, in very high regard. So
I do too.
I think that he can at least come close to Yuki. Can he beat Yuki this year? If Yuki keeps getting terrible strategies, it should be pretty easy. But let's say everything's equal. I don't think that Liam Lawson can beat Yuki Tsunoda this year, but I think he can be close enough to warrant a seat next year. And really, like, who else? Like, Isaac Hadjar. But Liam Lawson deserves that seat. He's proven it every time that Red Bull has asked, and I hope that he gets it, because I mean I don't think he's gonna match Yuki. If he needs to match Yuki, then I think that's a little extreme. But I think he can be just behind him, and I think he will get that seat. I think that they will give him the seat. I think they're just trying to kind of light something underneath him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
But keeping on with the news, the Red Bull news, Helmut Marko he hasn't closed the door on Yuki being that second Red Bull driver. He talked about how Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson are going to test in Red Bull cars, but he wants Yuki to have a shot in the Red Bull car before they make any further decision on him. That's not a direct quote, but that's the gist of what he said. So Yuki, who's been kind of thrown to the side by Red Bull, it seems, at points, at least Helmut Marko is saying that they haven't done that. Look, actions speak louder than words, and the actions have really shown that Marko's words there are empty. But I hope that Marko keeps this promise, and gives Yuki a fair shot, because look, I wouldn't. It's a tricky situation, I wouldn't wish the Red Bull second seat on anyone. I wouldn't wish the Red Bull second seat on my worst enemy. But at the same time, Sergio Perez isn't cutting it, and you need to make a move to bring in a different driver, and you need to bring in the driver that you think is going to have the greatest positive impact on the team. That driver, if you're looking within the Red Bull circle, should be Yuki Tsunoda. It really should be. But at the same time, I wouldn't wish it on him. So, really, Yuki just try to land a seat somewhere else ASAP. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird situation because, like, of course you want to be in the main Red Bull team, but it truly is a curse to be in that second seat.
Unless you have the ability to flip it, like some drivers have, but it hasn't been done in a long while.
Well, it hasn't been done since Max has been the lead driver, and that's essentially when the quote-unquote curse came into play. Like, Pierre Gasly, he couldn't drive the car the way that Max does. Alex Albon, he did have some success, but in the end, his confidence got shot, and he couldn't drive the car the way that Max can. And now we're seeing the same thing happen to Sergio. Sergio, at times in his Red Bull tenure, was, like, specific races, not like long chunks of time, but specific races, he was better than Max Verstappen. You think back to Baku, whatever year it was, Saudi Arabia, whatever year it was. He has at times been better than Max, but over the course of time, he hasn't been able to keep up. His confidence has got shot, and he's just nowhere near Max now. Like, that's the way it goes.
Not fun.
So, next up, moving away from Red Bull, Andrew kind of put the rubber chicken, the infamous rubber chicken of the show near me earlier.
I hit my head.
Yeah, that didn't look fun. What were you doing?
I dropped my pen.
You should wear mandatory racing helmets from here on out.
This is not the FIA.
I don't know if Andrew wanted me to give someone the chicken award earlier, but okay, because what he wrote on the our Google Doc here is that this next bit of news, Formula One and the FIA deserve the chicken award for this. Simply, Formula One is getting rid of the fastest lap point for next year.
I don't like it, so I'm gonna squeeze a chicken.
Yeah, I don't like it either. It's very interesting timing that they released this news. They released it before the USGP. So the last race before they released this news was Daniel Ricciardo stealing the fastest lap from Lando Norris to help out Max Verstappen. We've already talked about that. Is that the reason that they got rid of it? I don't know. It's interesting timing, though. I don't know their exact reasons for getting rid of it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It made things exciting at the end, drivers attempting to get that fastest lap point. I don't like it.
Andrew presents a few quick fixes to make F1 slightly better.
Let's hear them.
Fastest lap, and hey, if you finish 11th and get the fast lap, you get the point. Because
then it would just be everyone, like, if you're 16th or below, whatever, like, everyone would try to pit for that fastest lap, and it would become a mess.
Well, okay. Maybe some rules where if you do it by a certain time, you get to keep it. I don't know. Anyway,
I like the thinking, though. Let's keep the creativity going.
Something like that. Well, points for everyone. I've said that. That would actually fix said problem. Anyway, moving forward, you also have a point for pole position, because rewards qualifying.
I could take it or leave it.
It's a slightly better, I think. And then give a point for most laps led. If I go out and say it's 50-lap race, I'll go out lead 47 of them. My car decides to have an oopsie, and I don't finish the race. You kind of deserve something.
How many points is that, though?
1.
1 point?
1 point.
Okay, what's stopping someone like Valtteri Bottas from starting the race on hards, putting in a 35, 40-lap stint on those tires, ends up leading whatever chunk of the race. Let's say drivers start pitting like lap 15, except he doesn't. He stays out long. He ends up leading X amount of laps. That number of laps ends up being like the most laps led. Like, is he exploiting the system there? Or is that fair game?
Well, it's fair game. Everyone knows about it.
Okay.
And so those are my Andrew's quick fixes to make Formula One slightly better. So there you go.
Keyword on slightly.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. Second half of that little bit of news is that the 2026 regulations are getting extensive enhancements. I didn't see anything about that. Andrew, what did you see about that?
A bunch of small rules are getting reworked so that they make more sense.
We'll talk about it in 2026 when it actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
Last two little bits of F1 news. F1 is increasing the requirement for fielding young drivers during free practice. It's going to be 2 drivers, and it's going to go, essentially that will make it go from 2 FP1 sessions to 4. And then final bit of F1 news, back to our good friends Red Bull. It's being dubbed the Red Bull bib controversy. Not something that babies wear while eating. In this case, it is referring to the front end of the car. Red Bull has a tool where they can adjust the T-tray and therefore the front ride height of the car. McLaren and Mercedes, they're big angry about that, saying that they think that Red Bull is doing it under Parc Fermé, which the FIA would say is illegal, but the FIA has also said that there's no evidence to say that they are doing it under Parc Fermé, so therefore nothing's going to happen. I mean, that makes sense. If nothing's happening under Parc Fermé, then nothing should happen. But that's that. I mean, Toto was super angry, though. Like, he called it outrageous. And then the FIA is calmly just saying, like, yeah, it's literally nothing. So there's a lot to look into here. I would suggest, if you're interested in that, go read up on it. But essentially, the FIA isn't going to do anything because they have no proof that Red Bull is adjusting the ride height of the car during times where they're not allowed to do so.
Mm-hmm. There you have it. Moving over to NASCAR news, couple small things. Joe Gibbs Racing to list Ty Gibbs as the owner of the 54 Xfinity entry in 2025. It makes sense because Joe Gibbs' 2 late sons, Coy and JD, they were listed as owners until before they both passed on. And it makes sense. Ty Gibbs, he's like, when Joe Gibbs eventually passes on, who's the owner gonna be? Ty Gibbs would make sense eventually.
I just can't imagine Ty Gibbs as the owner of a racing team, but yeah, I mean, he is the most apparent heir apparent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I don't know whose decision it was, but in that car will be Taylor Gray next year. We'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward.
Alongside Mr. Gibbs.
Yeah.
Ty, not Joe. Joe's not racing.
No,
Joe. I should clarify.
Joe Gibbs is not racing. Ty Gibbs driving the 54 in Cup and then Xfinity. Gray. Toyota Racing rebranding as Toyota Gazoo Racing North America in 2025. Just making Toyota, the names similar. Toyota Gazoo Racing in foreign lands, not at the U.S. And now Toyota Gazoo Racing in North America.
Yeah.
But now saying North America. So
is it officially Toyota Gazoo Racing North America? Like,
yes.
That's the full title?
Yes.
Interesting. Because at first I thought, like, okay, they're just trying to have the same name throughout the entire world. But that's not.
But it's like the North American arm.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, it's still close. Okay, yeah, it's still closer to that than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Gazoo branding that Toyota is kind of trying to push worldwide is being brought to North America. Okay.
Here's an interesting one. Andretti completes Indy Next roster with F2 veteran Dennis Hauger. The thing that makes this interesting is not Dennis Hauger or Andretti. Is that an F2 driver going to Indy next? Normally, when you see F2 drivers head over to IndyCar,
Dennis Hauger.
It is interesting, but you don't see this. I looked at, I checked, I think every driver, and that move hasn't been done on the IndyCar grid. There may have been former drivers that did that.
Not on the current grid.
That's what I said.
But I think the only other driver that jumped over to not Indy Next, just the main IndyCar series, is Santino Ferrucci. Who jumped from F2 to Marcus
Armstrong did it.
Yeah, okay.
There might have been others.
Yeah, then it is kind of interesting that that Hauger. Look, I mean, there was really no rumors for this at all. I kind of mentioned in passing last week that I think that Dennis Hauger has an outside shot at an Indy seat next year.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. There was a test, but that's interesting.
I mean, I said that Dennis Hauger had an outside shot at IndyCar next year, but the fact that he's already leaving Formula 2 to go over to IndyCar Indy Next, that's really interesting to me. I thought he would only go over if he was guaranteed an IndyCar seat, not an Indy Next seat. And look, Dennis Hauger, he's had an interesting junior career. And look, as we keep discovering more and more, like, junior careers, the results mean less and less. But, like, still, he's won Italian F4. He won Formula 3. And then in F2, he started to have some real struggles with consistency.
Yeah.
But there's still talent in there. Talent, in my opinion, worthy of an IndyCar seat. So I think he has to be one of the favorites alongside Jacob Abel, who I assume is returning to Indy next year, to win that Indy Next title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be him. Also, Christian Lundgaard went over from Formula 2 to IndyCar directly.
So there's a few of them.
There's a few. There might be others, but yeah, you don't write off Miles Rowe if he is returning, but don't write him off. Just say
Indy Next.
He's a talented kid, in Indy Next. So that means we're into the previews now, Ethan.
And now for next week's race previews. Let's do it.
Homestead, Miami, former place of the championship. Now
when did that change over?
2019 was the last one. 2020 was when they started shuffling it. You have Kaz Grall in the 15, AJ Allmendinger with this 4 average finish. Average finish to 4th place in the next-gen car in the 16. J.J. Yaley in the 44 and Chad Fincham in the 66. The 5, Ethan.
Let's hear it.
You got Kyle Larson. You also have 3-time winner Denny Hamlin. I also have William Byron.
Mm-hmm.
He's won there once. Got Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr. They've all won there.
Mm-hmm.
Guy who's not won there that I have honorable mention, Tyler Reddick. He's always runs well.
I almost went with him for my pick, which we'll get to, of course, later. But I was so close to going with Tyler Reddick. Yeah. I really was.
And then another 2-time winner, Kyle Busch, as an honorable mention. Just Kyle Busch's cars, not good, to say the least.
True.
Xfinity, your rotators. In the SS Greenlight cars, they must have thought it was a road course this week because they got the road course guys, Brad Perez and Austin Green, in their cars.
Do you have any idea why they did that?
I'm trying to give these guys a shot on ovals. Perez does come on ovals sometimes. And then Austin Green, we'll see. He's rumored for a full-time seat somewhere, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And then in the Joe Gibbs Racing All-Star cars, Sawalich in the 19, who is likely to be full-time in those. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. But that's likely going to be the case. Eric Almirola in the 20, Ryan Truex in the 26 Sam Hunt car. The Joey Gase cars will be Armani Williams and Thomas Annunziata 45, that's the third Alpha Prime car, Mason Maggio. 74 TBA for Mike Harmon Racing, Connor Zilich in the 88, Nick Lights in the 92 for DGM. Truck race, William Sawalich in the 1 as well. In the Young's Motorsports cars, you have Nathan Bird in the 02 and Justin Mondyke in the 46. Marco Andretti in the 04. Frankie Muniz in the 22 for Hume Brothers. He's
huge for Malcolm in the Middle fans.
He's going to be full-time next year. You have in the Rackley War will be the 25 Dawson Sutton. No Brett Holmes this week in the 32. That's kind of interesting. He kind of skipped a few races at the end of last year, doing the same this year, it appears. And the Nice Motorsports third and fourth car, you've got Connor Daly in the 44, Caden Honeycutt in the 45. The fifth Thorsport truck, 66 is Connor Jones. Corey Day will be in the 91 for Spire. And then prepared by Spire will be the 75 Henderson Motorsports for Connor Zilich.
So what does prepared by Spire entail?
They say, okay, we are going to prepare this truck. We are going to build it, set it up. You guys are going to run it.
If you build it, you will run it?
Let's say I go to... I don't know what you're going at there. Let's say I build a truck.
Is that not a good enough Field of Dreams reference?
I knew what you're trying to reference there, but what you're saying, it's not a good time.
Okay.
Like, if I build a truck, my team's full. I'm not going to... Your team's good. You've got a team laying around that you're not going to use this week. Say, okay, you run it. We pay you some money.
Mm-hmm.
You run it.
So what do they get out of it?
Who? Spire? Or
yeah, they're paying another team to run their car. Like, what do they get out of it?
Well, they don't have to spend money on hiring a team for this race, an extra team of like pit crew and stuff.
Right, but wouldn't it just be better to not run it?
Well, they have a driver that they want to run. They want to run 4 trucks. So
okay.
that's the thing.
Interesting.
You talk about Mexico City, Ethan.
For the first time in forever, I have no driver changes to report. However, since we're here, I will quickly go over the standings. Probably should have done this last episode, previewing the United States Grand Prix, but I forgot. So here we are. After the second break of the season, plus 1 race, top 5 of the standings are as follows. Max Verstappen leading with 354 points. Lando Norris in second with 297 points. Yeah, everyone, please stop trying to make this a championship battle. It just simply isn't. This is Max's championship. It's already won, okay? Charles Leclerc, not far behind Lando Norris in third. 275 points for him. If Lando Norris wants to keep any well, I was going to say if Lando wants to keep any modicum of respect from F1 Twitter, but I don't think he really cares too much about what F1 Twitter thinks about him.
I don't care what F1 Twitter thinks of me.
F1 Twitter doesn't know you exist, but...
Well, they're about to.
Yeah. Big seat announcement for next year?
Yes, I'm not going to be driving the Audi car next year.
Aw, dang it. Okay, so...
After you crushed my hopes and dreams.
So, Charles is in third, 275. Lando really needs to keep second with 297 points. He needs to manage to stay ahead of Leclerc there. Piastri in fourth, 247 points, and then a little bit of a gap to Carlos Sainz in fifth with 215. With the Constructors' Battle, though, McLaren, they increased their lead, 544 points for them over Red Bull's 504. And then Ferrari, if things keep going the way they are, I would expect them to, in terms of Sergio being nowhere and the Ferraris being strong. To clarify. Ferrari, they're seen at 496. I would expect them to pass Red Bull soon enough. It's pretty funny since just Ferrari, they were so strong at Circuit of the Americas, and I would expect them to continue to be strong for at least most of the remaining races. They were the only team that didn't bring upgrades Williams as well, I believe it was, didn't bring upgrades. But they were one of 2 teams that didn't bring upgrades to the U.S., and they were the fastest car. Like, they were the fastest car on race pace. They were amazing. So kind of funny there. They look to be strong at Mexico. Red Bull will be strong. Max has won every single year there since 2017, except for one, I believe.
Okay.
I believe.
All right, into the pick points now.
Let's do it. And now for next week's race picks.
Ethan, he did well last week. He got 1 point for we each got a point for Lando Norris beating out Oscar in the sprint because that was the guest pick.
Cancels each other out.
Yeah. I got 1 point because Max finished on the podium. I thought he would win. He finished third.
Yeah. You got another point for Charles.
Yeah. Should have swapped those. You had Max finishing third. You got 5 points. Our guest did well in the NASCAR. William Byron beat out Kyle Larson in the Cup Series, gaining them 1 point. And A.J. Allmendinger, he won the race. So the guest
who picked last?
I believe it was Zach.
Don't know who Zach is.
Yeah, he was my neighbor at one point.
Okay.
The guest still at 80 points back for the 5th week in a row. I'm 7 back of Ethan, who was at 330 points.
Yeah, so if you don't know how to do math, like me, I don't know how to do math. That's 330 for me, 323 for Andrew, and 250 for the guests, which just barely exist.
Yeah, if they stay at 80, they'll be eliminated in 4 weeks. So there you have it.
Getting into this week, we don't have guest picks right now, but super quick, Formula One podium. I'm going Max, Lando, Charles. Andrew agrees, but in a different order. Charles, Max, Lando for him.
Watch it be Lando, Charles, Max.
That's probably what it will be since we picked what we picked. On to NASCAR, the Truck Series. Andrew, you took Ty Majeski.
Yes, I did.
I took Corey Heim. Both of those drivers have a shot. And then for Xfinity, I wanted to take Sam Mayer, but I saw you took Sam Mayer, and I said, okay, I'll let this be a week where there's no duplicates. You know, we're very close to each other in the standings. Let's keep things exciting. So I really did want to pick Sam Mayer, but I did take Austin Hill, who he's run well in the past at Homestead. I don't like it as much as I like the Sam Mayer pick. I really wanted to pick Sam Mayer, but I respect the competition.
It sounds like you just need to put your picks in the dock first.
True. Kyle Larson is your pick for the Cup Series at Homestead. I like the pick, but I honestly like my pick of Christopher Bell better. Like I said, I almost took Tyler Reddick, but Christopher Bell, he won there last year. He's been super strong, couple of seconds his last 2 races, I believe. So, I mean, should be pretty strong there. On a good run of form, had success there in the past. That's a recipe for success. A bigger recipe for success is just listening to this show. So thank you for everyone that listened. I'm Ethan Ignatowski. That's Andrew Hazlett. Have a great rest of your night.
Goodbye. Here comes Breakdown After Dark, but first, Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.